Hey guys, this is going to be a quick review on a recent purchase of mine, the Spyderco Endura 4 with the full flat grind. And the one that I chose to get was the gray colored FRN handle, and I gotta say I couldn't be happier with this knife. It's extremely comfortable in hand, very fast. One of the sharpest out-of-box knives I've ever owned, I think. And just a great all-around design. And to be quite honest with you guys, I really haven't always liked Spyderco all that much. When I first was introduced to them many years ago, to be honest, I really thought their blades and their knives in general were kind of weird looking. I thought the shapes were kind of off, and really didn't like the full serrated versions that you saw most of the time at that time. So I kind of wrote them off for the longest time as a knife that I would probably never buy, or a company that I wouldn't really consider. But to be honest, as I got older, as I kind of saw some more of their offerings, handled a few, and compared them with some other well-known knife makers or companies, I just started really kind of always coming back to them and looking at their designs and really starting to appreciate them, both in form and function. And it got to a point here recently where I just couldn't bear it any longer, and I had to pick one of these up. And I've always been a fan of full flat grind blades. They're actually probably my preferred grind on an EDC blade or a general use knife. And once I heard that Spyderco was coming out with these, it was just something that quickly got onto my must-have list. And unfortunately, it did take a while to acquire. It took a little while to save up the money, although relatively speaking, these aren't that expensive compared with similar knives with similar features. But it just always came up that I had something else to spend it on. And finally, I had enough money set aside, went ahead and picked one up. And couldn't be happier, to be honest. Love this knife. I love how it carries. I love how it feels. And I think most of all, I actually am beginning to love how it looks. And as far as features go, just to throw those in there for you guys, this is the gray colored Endura 4. They do offer 4 other colors in the full flat grind version, those being purple, brown, green, and blue. And if you want a black-handled knife, you're going to have to settle for the saber grind. I believe they also offer these in partially serrated as well as a full plain edge, as you see here. If you go into the traditional Enduras, then you'll have a full serrated option as well as partially and plain in the black handle. You also have the what they call bidirectional texturing on the FRN handles, which are fiberglass reinforced nylon. You have mid-spine lockback here, which utilizes what I believe is referred to as the David Boy lockback, which means they kind of scallop out the top part of this lockback. So the theory is, anyway, that if you were to white knuckle this, the chances that you would inadvertently actuate that lock and release the blade are less with that little piece of metal removed there, or that little portion of metal rather. You also have a spring steel pocket clip, very strong. Spyderco actually makes some of my favorite pocket clips. I think they're very functional yet very attractive, and they also have the added benefit of being a 4-position clip, so you can do tip up, tip down, left hand, right hand, no problem. And for the size of this knife, it's extremely lightweight, and it's also extremely sharp, especially with that thin, full flat grind blade. And this is actually one of the sharpest out-of-the-box knives I believe I've ever owned. It's extremely impressive, and they really couldn't have done a better job on this. Now I do want to kind of give some size comparisons with some other larger knives that I have. But first I want to compare a couple of other well-known Spydercos. This is a Spyderco Delica with a wave feature. It's still basically the same size as your traditional Delica with just a different blade shape. But I'll just go ahead and show you a quick comparison there. It's maybe about 2/3 the length and the size. So it is considerably larger, but I think I actually prefer the larger blades, even for EDC, as far as I'm concerned. Another well-known blade, probably one of the most reviewed blades on YouTube, is the Spyderco Tenacious. A little bit bigger than the Delica, but at the same time it's just a little bit smaller than the Endura. So it's kind of a small, medium, large. And they've actually come out with a larger model of in the Tenacious line. The Resilience, maybe it is, or something along that line. And then they have a smaller one, the Persistence, and maybe even one more. I'm kind of blinking out right now. But great knife here as well, and this one too. But just to go ahead and compare it with some similar size blades, this is Gerber Fairbairn or Applegate Combat Folder. Very similar in size to that as far as blade and handle length. And there's actually a large model of that, which I also have. Just a little bit bigger than that one. I would say it's maybe in between these two. Just to give a quick comparison there. It's also very similar to one of my other favorite EDCs, the Cold Steel Voyager Large. I would say it's actually almost identical. Very similar handle lengths, very similar blade lengths. Different shaped knives, but basically the same size. And I went ahead and pulled out my extra large Voyager just for a further comparison. You're really going to have a hard time finding too many pocket knives that are this big. And there's actually an even larger one, the Double XL, I believe. Which at that point I think you're getting a little ridiculous, but that's just me. And then last but not least, Cold Steel Pocket Bushman, just to give you a side-by-side. This is actually more of a long-handled knife than anything. It almost looks the same as the XL Voyager, just to compare these. But the blade lengths are actually somewhat comparable, as far as cutting surface is concerned anyway. This one's still a little bit bigger yet, but those are just some real quick comparisons. Let's see if I can go maybe largest to smallest here. Maybe something like that, just to give you an idea of size comparison. I also have a Leatherman Wave here, just to throw into the mix. And why not? One more knife. I got the Victorinox Soldier, which is kind of dwarfed there. Go ahead and open the blade on this. Give you some ideas. I think this would go even smaller than the Delica, but that's just a small glimpse of part of my knife collection. Actually, I have a few more on the table over here. There's a Leatherman blade. I might do a review on that in a moment. But most of all, I just wanted to give some size comparisons between the Endura 4, as well as my thoughts on it. I can easily say that out of all of these blades, this one's actually my favorite right now. Love this knife. I would replace it in a heartbeat, and I think I'm actually going to try to buy a few more as I get some extra money. Just a great all-around blade, great for EDC, very fast. So, that's that. Stay tuned for more videos. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day.